Have you ever picked up a vintage candlestick or a vase and thought, this looks old, but what era is it really from? Today, we are kicking off a brand new series called Through the Ages. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm still learning right along with you, especially in this series. I'm loving preparing for these videos, but I want to share what's been helpful for me so far. Here's why this series matters. Learning the design elements of different eras will equip you to identify and price items more effectively without relying on apps like Google Lens. And if you're a collector, this knowledge will also help you create stunning vignettes and displays in your home. And because once a teacher, always a teacher, I have of course created an accompanying workbook and notes document that you can use as you follow along in this series. It's completely free. I'm not even asking for your email address. You will find the link in the description below. As vintage sellers and collectors, we can't always rely on a quick online lookup. That's where design history becomes your secret weapon. By learning how shapes, ornamentation, and materials evolved over time, you'll be able to spot what you have and price it with confidence. Each episode in this series will focus on one type of item: candlesticks, stemware, vases, and even salt and pepper shakers, and walk you through their journey from medieval times to modern day. We'll look at the materials, craftsmanship, and the historical context that shaped the styles of each era. I'm not here as the star of the show. The items are. My role is to simply give you the tools to identify what you find, whether you're reselling on Etsy or curating your home. Now let's do a quick example so you can see how this series will work. We'll take salt and pepper shakers and look at 4 styles from 4 very different eras. At first glance, can you tell what era each of these sets came from? Let's take a closer look and I'll fill you in. Starting at the top left, what I'll call quadrant A, these smiling apple and orange faces are classic mid-century novelty shakers, popular in the 1940s and 1950s. They reflect that post-war desire for cheerfulness in the kitchen, bright colors, whimsical expressions, and a sense of fun that turned even tableware into conversation pieces. Now move right to quadrant B. The mid-century modern shakers from the 1950s and 1960s. See how sleek and geometric they are? Gone are the playful faces. Instead, the bold colors and streamlined shapes fit perfectly with the futuristic furniture and modernist homes of the era. In quadrant C, we step back into the Depression era of the 1930s. These glass shakers were mass-produced in pastel colors like pink, green, and clear. Often ribbed or molded with simple patterns and paired with metal screw-on lids, they were affordable, practical, and accessible to households during hard times. Finally, in quadrant D, we jump ahead to the 1970s when mushrooms and other novelty motifs took over. These smiling mushroom cap shakers capture the earthy, whimsical vibe of the decade, nature-inspired, casual, and a little bit funky. See how much you can tell about an item just from its shape, color, and material? That's the kind of design detective work that we'll be practicing together in this series. Our first deep dive already aired on candlesticks through the ages. I'll put the link on the screen up here and in the description in case you missed that. I intend to make these deep dives, what I'm calling my Through the Ages series, a regular part of the channel, alongside the Etsy tutorials that always end with what's sold in the shop this week. And just a quick personal update. The day after this video airs, I begin my migration down to Florida. I'm going to take 4 days and take my time. I have some Goodwill shopping stops planned along the way, and I'll be sharing with you in future episodes what those Goodwills were like, what their pricing was like, and what items I purchased. I'll also keep you posted on what happens when I deactivate all my Michigan merchandise and reactivate all my Florida inventory, what kind of an effect that it has on my shop and traffic and sales. All right, that wraps up today's main topic, and as always, I like to end with a peek behind the curtain of my own shop. So let's take a look at what's sold in my shop this week. For this week's sold item, I want to highlight this Precious Moments wedding cake topper. I found it back in January at the Lakeland Antique Mall in Florida, and I paid $6.42 for it. It sold 9 months later on September 25th for $28, and it did cost me $4.69 in offsite ads. The gross profit on this was $16, and that works out to a gross margin of 57%. I'm comfortable with that, but my return on investment was only 148%, and I really strive for 300%. So why did I go ahead and list this at this price point? Well, because sometimes with certain items, especially things like wedding cake toppers, I just don't want to push the price higher. I like to keep a consistent price for wedding cake toppers in my shop. Leaves me with a healthy profit usually. That said, this is exactly why I stay disciplined about what I pay up front when I source. I'm always asking how low can I keep my costs so I have room to cover fees, ads, or unexpected costs and still make a worthwhile profit, even when I accept a lower return on investment. Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder, I've created 2 resources that are available in my Etsy shop, which I will link to in the description below. The first is my gross margin pricing guide. This one's helpful because it takes the guesswork out of pricing by focusing on profit margin instead of just adding a markup. It really helps you see where the money is going and ensures that you're actually building in enough profit for the long term from the time you source the item. And second is my Etsy step-by-step listing guide. If you're newer to Etsy or just want to make sure you're not missing anything, this walks you through the listing process from start to finish. You'll see a QR code on the screen now, and there's a link down in the description to the seller resources in my shop. And another quick channel update. In just about 2 months, this channel has already grown to over 1,000 subscribers with over 17,000 views and more than 2,000 hours of watch time. I am so grateful for the support you've shown me through subscribing, commenting, and watching these videos. It means so much. And I want you to know there are many more episodes to come.